بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. Inshallah, today we are going to be continuing the portion of continuing the portion of fasting, and in this we will go over the aspects in which can be the means of a person to leave fasting without expiation being mandatory upon them. However, the day needs to be made up, and these are awarid. So if you are not able to perform it for some reason, due to these reasons that you're not able to do fasting, then you make up for another day. So al-marid wal-hamil wal-mawdi. So the ill person, the pregnant woman, and the breastfeeding. These are the circumstances which are deemed legal and for which there is no sin in leaving the fast. However, the fast needs to be made up. Illness, traveling, pregnancy, breastfeeding, hunger, thirst, and old age. In each of these cases, one is permitted to break or leave the day of fasting at hand and make up the days later when one is able. For example, an old and frail man who suffers from an is allowed to leave the fast and pay a fee, which is fidya. If this person regains his health, then he would make up the fast. Otherwise, the fidya will become the source of the compensation for the fasting that a person has done. Similarly, it is permissible to break one's fast for one who is ill and fears, with a good reason, the aggravation in his illness or delays in his recovery. So your person is sick, and if he fasts due to that, the illness will increase. This person is allowed to leave the fast. There will be no sin. This needs to make up whenever he feels healthy again. A nursing woman, a pregnant woman, is permitted to leave the fast if she feels a loss of the mind, death, or illness upon herself or child. Or if the child is her own, or even a nursing child, the child that she is nursing, she is even allowed to leave the fasting for that and then make up for the days that she has missed. وَالْخَوْفُ الْمُعْتَبَرُ. Now we talk about the fear. How do you determine this fear? The fear which is considered a genuine, allowing one to break his or her fast, is that which is based upon one's predominant belief through past experience or information from a physician that gives an information, Islamic physician that tells you, this is the situation and you should not be fasting. Due to that, you're allowed to leave the fast. It is permitted to break the fast if one suffers unbearable thirst or hunger in which he fears his demise. So a person is going through a very difficult situation. For him, it's very difficult to breathe. This individual is allowed to leave the fast so that he can make up the fast later on, and he can have a survival for him. So that was about the marad, any type of illness, what type of illness are and you are allowed to leave your fast and so on. Now is al-musafir, the traveler. وَلِلْمُسَافِرِ الْفِطْرُ وَصَوْمُهُ أَحَبُّ إِنْ لَمْ يَضُرُّهُ وَلَمْ تَكُنْ عَامَةً. Okay, well, the traveler is legally permitted to break his fast. However, to fast is better provided that it will not harm him, and provided that most of the companions accompanying him are also fasting, and that each person is funding his own expenses separately. Through if they are sharing the expenses of the traveler or are not fasting, then it is better to break the fast and to be accordance with the group. So let's say if you're traveling in a group, if there are multiple people that are fasting, then you can, it's up to you as an optional to fast. Now, if there is no one except you that want to fast, you are still allowed to fast, but it's better for you not to fast so you can be part of the group. Now, if the expenses are being shared, then of course it's better not to fast. And if the expenses are separate, then an individual has the right to fast or not to fast. However, even if the expenses are separate, still it's better to be part of the jama'ah and not to fast so it doesn't look, because this is an optional, so when the fardiyah is no longer there. So accommodation of the group is very important. So for that reason, you can leave the fast and make up later, unless if a person thinks that it will be very difficult for him to make up later, and then he has the strength to fast at this junction, even if he's alone in the group, he can go ahead and do that fast. What is and is not required for a person who breaks fast due to an excuse? So if you have broken your fast, what happens after that? And you have broken it for an excuse that was illegitimate. That was legitimate. If a person dies, the excuse ends, such as illness and travel. He is not to make a will instructing his heirs to redeem the days he lost. The reason is due to his excuse, which means, for example, a sick person who dies before regaining sound health is under no obligation to make a will for the days that he lost because his excuse remains. A missed fast is deemed by paying the fidya. Okay, so if a person he is not able to fast, and now that illness goes on to the effect that he's never going to regain illness. The illness is such, some people are certain patients that they cannot fast at all. So if you are in that condition, then it's at that time for you it's the best to pay the fidya and have that missed fast redeemed. Now, if you did not pay the fidya now, or you continue to be in that stage, then after you regain your health, you are made mandatory to qada of the fast. And then at that time, if the qada wasn't possible, then you just pay the fidya and take care of that. Now, a situation where a person he gains health for a certain amount of time, after that he loses. So that's gonna be, if one finds other days in which he can make up the missed days, then he must do so when he regains the sound health or after becoming a resident. If, however, he does not make up the days, then he is required to leave a will and instructing his heirs to redeem the days he was healthy for the days he was a resident for. So, for example, if a person he lost his health for 15 days, and after that he becomes well for another 10 days, and then after that he passes away. So this individual will only have to give, he has to, recommend for people to give fidya on behalf of the 10 days and not the 15 days, because he didn't live enough or live long enough to be able to have those days taken care of for him. So that's why he will only do the fidya for 10 days. And it is not mandatory for a person to continuously fulfill the obligation of fast. So say if a person has missed 15 days, he doesn't have to make up entire 15 days consecutively. He can just skip days however he feels comfortable. Just try to do it as soon as possible. So there are certain types of fast in which you are mandatory is for you to do a continuous fast, like when you are giving kafara, or when you have made an oath and that oath needs to be fulfilled. So that needs to be done continuously. But if there are fasts that you have missed, you were wanting to do, did not do for some reason, there were obligations, and you can do them according to your convenience, and you don't have to follow the actual procedure that is given. If another Ramadan comes along, yet one has not fasted the previous Ramadan, then one is to perform the current one and thereafter make up the unperformed Ramadan he missed. So if you have the current coming in, you do that. And there is no fidya penalty fee for delaying these missed fasts up to the current Ramadan, although according to Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi there is. So Imam Shafi'i says it has to be done before the next Ramadan comes in, and if you haven't done it, then you should pay the fidya then. Another type of illness is a shaykh al-fani. It is permitted for a frail old person, male and female, to break their fast. They must, however, pay the fidya for every day missed. Now, this is someone that has the continuous illness. The top section that we discussed, it was that person who had illness and then he is going to regain his health. Now, this is a Sheikh Fani, the person who has gone to an old age where he's not able to fast, or he has an illness that is going to stay with him for a while, or is going to stay with him unless there is a situation where it is removed. Then of course, then that's differently. But he has the understanding that the illness is going to stay with him for moving on now. So for this individual, he must, however, pay the fidya for every day missed, and the fidya or the fee is half measure of a wheat, which is approximately 1.6 kilograms, or the equivalent of that cash. So whatever this amount is, equivalent of that cash, you go and you pay for each fast that you have missed. And this person is called Sheikh Fani, an elderly male or an elderly female, and this is the separate hukum from an illness. If a person has vowed to fast his entire life and as a result becomes weak and feeble because of his working efforts to provide for himself and family, then he is to break his fast and pay the fidya. If, however, he is unable to pay the fidya due to financial difficulty, then he is to seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to resign his vow, meaning go and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, because certain things you're not supposed to do. I mean, what kind of vow you have made that I'm going to fast for the rest of my life? So that's making a difficult situation for you. First of all, a vow like this should not be considered. And if a person has made such a vow and he's not able to continue, then he has to either pay the fidya or break the vow and pay the penalty of that vow. Okay, when the payment of the fidya penalty fee is not valid, as there is an expiation to atone for violation of fasting, there are also exists expiation for other violations, such as expiations imposed for issues like breaking one's oath and murder. The expiation of or kafara of a broken oath is, number one, to free Muslim slave, number two is to feed 10 poor people, and number three to provide clothing for 10 such persons. If one is unable to do any of the above, then one must fast for. Okay, the expiation. So this is a kafara of a person who, now we're talking about these 3 days he needs to fast if he's not able to fulfill his oath. Now, if the expiation of a broken oath is required of a person and he does not have the financial means to carry out the expiation, or freeing a slave, or to feed or to clothe unfortunate person, then is required to fast. Though if this person is old and feeble and therefore unable to fast, or he does not fast when he has the ability to do so until he becomes old and feeble, then in both cases it is not permitted to pay the fidya. It applies to the expiation kafara of a fasting. In addition, one cannot undertake the fidya of a fasting unless he is unable to to do the expiation with payment. So basically, a person has done an oath and he did not finish his oath, and due to that, he is told to do either one of the three. إطعام عشرة مساكين من أوسط ما تطعمون أهليكم أو كسوتهم أو تحرير رقبة. Freeing a slave or this, and if you're not able to find any of these things, then فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ, if a person is not able to find, then he should fast for 3 days. Now, if this individual now he has gone into 3 days of fasting, but he never fasted, or he got into a free 3 days fasting, but he wasn't able to fast due to his physical health. Now, at this junction, he's not going to pay kafara of the fasting, because kafara is already for something that you were not able to do. Kafara is not for something that can be a two types of a penalty being paid off. At this junction, this person just have the wealth of that things that he's not able to do, and just go ahead and feed the people or find another way to take care of that. Now, if he's not able to take care of that in any of those ways, then he doesn't have to pay kafara, and Allah knows the intention, and He's the most forgiving. So that will be the case of that type of an individual. It's in a specific type of a person where this law or rule applies to. ويجوز للصائم التطوع الفطر بعذر أو بغيره. The permissibility of breaking voluntarily fast with or without a reason. So it is permitted for a person who is performing a voluntary fast no reason, according to the opinion of Imam Abu Yusuf rahmatullahi alayh, that you don't have to have a reason to break an optional fast. Now, if you have broken and this is the soundest opinion, the fatwa of Imam Abu Yusuf rahmatullahi alayhi. Now, if you have وَالضِّيَافَةُ عُذْرٌ, and they mentioned that entertaining a guest is also an udhr. So, of course, for entertaining a guest, it's more prior for a person to go and break his fast. So entertaining is regarded as a reason for breaking a voluntary fast according to the most evident view, for both the guest and the host, and for them the glad tidings of this great benefit. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who said that whomever breaks his fast for the right of his brother, the reward of a fasting 1,000 days are written for him, and upon making up the day that he has broke his fast upon, he will get another 1,000 days of fasting. So due to this virtue, it is more recommended for a person to break his fast. And this is the hadith of a virtue. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him the reward according to the intention that he had for entertaining the guest regarding this. Now, if a person breaks a voluntary fast in any situation, whether it is a reason or without a reason, he is required to make up the fast, except if he begins to fast during one of the days which are forbidden for a person to fast. So let's say if a person started to fast and then he broke his fast. Now, there was an optional fast. This fast was not obligatory upon him. What's the situation? So according to Imam Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, he does have to make up the fast that he broke. There is no sin, there is nothing, no type of harm upon this person. He just have to make up for it. Why? Because he's destroying his good deed that he started. According to Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi, he doesn't have to make up that fast because it was never obligatory upon him. Now, if a person makes an intention to make a fast on a day where there is forbidden for you to fast, for example, the day of Eid, or the 3 days of Tashriq and the 2 days of Eid, the 5 days. And you make an intention to fast, now it's forbidden for you to fast on this day, so that you decided now that I'm not going to continue. You can continue, so you don't even have to make up for that day because the starting of the fast was not valid to begin with. Inshallah, we will stop right here for this week. We ask Allah to accept our efforts, inshallah, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to practice on this. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khair for listening. May Allah reward everyone. If anyone has any question, they can post it in the chat, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. Subhanahu wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. So there is a question before we go off. Asked, what is the reward of voluntary fasting? The reward of voluntary fasting is if you're doing it on a specific day, you get the reward of the fasting and performing the sunnah. For example, Mondays and Thursdays or 3 days in a month, you have a deal. What reward you get? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives your sin. Allah Azza wa Jalla accepts your dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your fasting smell, the mouth, the smell of the fasting person's mouth is more dear to Allah. The smell is more dear to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the smell of musk. So these are all the virtues that have been mentioned when we talk about fasting. These are all part of the fasting. They're not just specifically or confined to the fasting of the month of Ramadan. These virtues you will get throughout the entire year whenever you fast, inshallah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.